The age-old question. Is it really what's on the inside that counts, or are we all just prisoners to our appearances? Enter A Different Man, Aaron Schimberg's dark, surreal, and absolutely head-scratching dive into that very dilemma. This film is like a philosophical nightmare set to jazz, with a heavy dose of dry wit and existential dread thrown in for good measure. Think of it as Kafka meets Kaufman, but with a bit more prosthetic-heavy makeup and a lot more awkward stares. Let's start with our main character, Edward, played by the ever-talented Sebastian Stan. And no, this isn't your typical dashing heartthrob Stan. Oh no, this is Stan buried under layers of prosthetics as Edward, a struggling actor with neurofibromatosis, a condition that significantly affects his facial appearance. But don't expect some heartwarming, triumphant story about overcoming physical challenges. No, A Different Man takes the road less traveled, and then builds a creepy detour to remind you that life is mostly one long, uncomfortable spiral of insecurity and self-delusion. At the start, Edward's life is pretty bleak. He's got the tragic trifecta going on: a face that draws unwanted attention, a dead-end acting career, and an unrequited crush on Ingrid, Renata Reintz, a playwright who seems more interested in writing about his life than actually, caring about it. So, in classic, be careful what you wish for fashion, Edward signs up for a medical procedure to fix his face. This is where the fun really begins. Post-surgery, Edward transforms into what can only be described as your standard leading man type: handsome, confident, and disturbingly obsessed with his old life. The irony? Edward might have changed his appearance, but he still can't land the role he craves. Worse yet, Ingrid's new play, a story inspired by the old Edward, is being headlined by Oswald, played by Adam Pearson, who has neurofibromatosis in real life. And Oswald? Oh, he's everything Edward isn't, full of charisma, energy, and an unshakable confidence that makes you question why Edward bothered with surgery at all. Now here's where things get truly wild. The film spends much of its time asking what's more important: the face you show to the world or the confidence with which you wear it. Oswald, despite having the same genetic disorder as Edward, is living his best life. Meanwhile, Edward spirals into madness, obsessing over Oswald's effortless charm and success. It's almost as if Edward's transformation was all for nothing. His newly reconstructed face can't mask the insecurities bubbling underneath. And isn't that the real horror of it all? It's not the physical deformity that holds Edward back. It's the suffocating self-doubt and desperation that drive him over the edge. In a way, Edward's post-surgery existence becomes a grim metaphor for the unattainable standards of beauty and success that so many of us chase. He's gotten everything he thought he wanted: a perfect face, a shot at a new life. But instead of finding happiness, he finds Oswald, his living, breathing reminder that external change means nothing if you can't accept yourself. Let's take a moment to appreciate the performances here, because A Different Man wouldn't be half as compelling without its stellar cast. Sebastian Stan, best known for playing the effortlessly charming or sinister types, takes a hard left into brooding territory. Edward is a ticking time bomb of self-hatred and disillusionment, and Stan nails it. He's especially brilliant after the surgery, when his newly perfect face betrays the growing unease in his eyes. It's the subtle, exaggerated facial tics and mannerisms that really sell Edward's descent into madness. The fact that we can't fully sympathize with Edward's character, even though we want to, is a testament to how well Stan balances the complexity of the role. And then there's Adam Pearson, who absolutely steals the show as Oswald. Pearson, an actor who has made a career out of challenging perceptions of disability on screen, brings a wild, infectious energy to the role. Where Edward is trapped by his insecurities, Oswald is free. He's funny, charming, and utterly comfortable in his own skin. The contrast between the two characters is stark, and Pearson's performance is the much-needed breath of fresh air that cuts through the film's heavier, more introspective moments. By the time Oswald arrives on screen, you're almost relieved. His presence shakes things up in a way that makes Edward's internal conflict even more poignant. One of the most fascinating and potentially divisive aspects of A Different Man is how it tackles the idea of authenticity, both in performance and in life. Schimberg intentionally muddies the waters by having Pearson, an actor with the same genetic condition as Edward, play a character within a character. This metatextual layer opens up a whole Pandora's box of questions about disability representation in film. Is it exploitative to have a famous actor like Stan don prosthetics to portray a character with a real genetic disorder, when Pearson could just as easily have played the role from the beginning? Or is Schimberg using this casting choice to say something deeper about the nature of identity and performance? The film doesn't hand us any easy answers. Instead, it leaves the ethical dilemmas swirling in our heads long after the credits roll. But what's clear is that Schimberg has a genuine interest in depicting the experience of disability without resorting to tired, patronizing tropes. Edward isn't some tragic figure deserving of pity, and Oswald isn't a magical, inspirational character. They're both complex, flawed, and human. In this way, A Different Man sidesteps many of the pitfalls that films about disability often fall into. It's not sentimental, nor is it overtly preachy. Instead, it asks the audience to engage with uncomfortable questions and come to their own conclusions. Visually, A Different Man is a feast for fans of gritty, indie cinema. Shot on Super 16mm, the film has a distinct 70s noir vibe that complements its dark and moody narrative. New York City itself becomes a character, with its grimy, leaking apartments and eclectic inhabitants serving as the perfect backdrop for Edward's unraveling mind. Every frame feels carefully crafted to heighten the sense of claustrophobia and paranoia that pervades the film. And while the cinematography is striking, it's the sound design that really sticks with you, a thundering, almost ominous score that turns even the quietest moments into something unnervingly suspenseful. The screenplay, too, is full of dark humor that gives the film a twisted sense of levity. Schimberg's knack for blending absurdity with existential horror is reminiscent of Woody Allen's earlier works, but with a distinctly modern edge. Every zinger lands with a hint of irony, and the dialogue is packed with clever observations about the human condition. The ending, in particular, delivers one final gut punch of a joke that'll leave you questioning everything you just watched. At its core, A Different Man is a film about identity, how we construct it, how others perceive it, and what happens when we try to change it. It's a deeply introspective movie that doesn't shy away from difficult questions, but it's also laced with enough dark humor and surreal moments to keep you on your toes. It's not an easy watch, and it certainly won't be for everyone, but for those who enjoy films that make you think and squirm, A Different Man is a must-see. Is it perfect? No. It's messy and at times emotionally distant, but that's part of its charm. Like Edward, the film is complex, flawed, and undeniably human. And in the end, that's what makes A Different Man stand out. It's a reflection of our own struggles with identity, beauty, and the often misguided pursuit of perfection. So, next time you find yourself staring into the mirror, remember, it's not always about the face staring back. Sometimes it's about how you see yourself.